Against Harlan Fear, number 14. We'll give him the green light. We'll be underway here in just a moment. We are underway here at the Season 1 Invitational at SCGCon Summer. And it is a Llanowar Elves to start here for Harlan Fear. Next up is a Paradise Druid and an attack here for 1. For AP, just started things off with a Swamp. Now, you did mention that interaction between Basilica Bellhaunt and Nullhide Ferox. That's a thing that could come up in this matchup.
Yeah, although with Fear having this level of mana here, likely to be cast, but
this will be a Rekindling Phoenix. Paradise Druid's going to come in here for 2. And this is a tried and true strategy in Magic, right? Something we've seen over the years, which is mana acceleration into large green and red threats. Sometimes it's green and white threats, but mana accelerant plus big creature. As there's Teferi. Well, Teferi does a nice job against big creatures. Bounce that, draw a card. Rekindling Phoenix will be back shortly, I'm sure.
But this is not the worst Teferi here for Fear, and part of the reason I think you want to be playing with Llanowar Elves is, 1, getting out in front of the battlefield is so important, and 2, just having a creature that can finish off Teferi Time Raveler or other planeswalkers that set themselves down to 1 loyalty. It's really important for keeping the momentum going.
Command the Dreadhorde, the draw there for Abe Corrigan. Again, number 1 on the SCG Tour leaderboard. If we ended things today, he'd be headed to the Players' Championship, and it's still very likely that he will be headed that direction unless something, pardon me, goes seriously wrong for him this weekend.
Yeah, I don't even know what that would look like.
It would take a lot.
And then finals and top 4 from the people behind him. It's not locked up.
No.
But unlikely.
Oath of Kaya and Teferi in hand here for Abe. Looks like he's going to play Teferi again. Bounce that Rekindling Phoenix. Play a Watery Grave tap. Draw a card, of course, from the Teferi activation. We head back over to Harlan, who's drawn, it looks like, a mountain for the turn. So Harlan flooding out a little bit. Llanowar Elves will take care of the Teferi. Paradise Druid will deal Abe 2. And now here's Rekindling Phoenix for a 3rd time. Follow that up with Llanowar Elves, and it's a full battlefield. 1 card that Harlan does not really have to concern himself with, because it's a card that's kind of slid out of the format, is Kaya's Wrath.
Yeah, that was a staple of Esper control, but these mid-range decks playing a lot less of it.
Here's Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, says, get out of here once again, Rekindling Phoenix. This Teferi is going to die too, I'm sure, as a mountain was the draw there for Harlan. You can easily pick off that Teferi. But Abe isn't doing a bad job here of basically, making some exchanges and then setting up a decent Command the Dreadhorde.
Yeah, I mean, this is the strength of the Planeswalkers come from, in part because the floor is so high. Even in the spots where they are, bad, like the Teferi Time Ravelers and the Hero Dominarios, Corrigan still got to draw a card or interact with something on Fear's side and force some action from Fear. That's as bad as they get.
Nullhide Ferox, the play there for Harlan Fear before passing the turn back over to Abe Corrigan. Abe taking a long look at his hand, because he's in a little bit of trouble here. Now, again, he does have Command the Dreadhorde in hand, but that one does require more life to work with than 10 in most instances, and this isn't a Command the Dreadhorde deck that has Wild Growth Walker and the Explore package.
Just a great game for Llanowar Elves here so far. Been very important for Fear.
It's looked good. I think one thing that we have kind of underestimated or forgotten is just how good Llanowar Elves is. And this, we talk about all these Planeswalkers and everything that's going on. Here is Oath of Kaya taking care of Paradise Druid. Llanowar Elves is still one of Magic's very best cards.
And especially now with there being so many Planeswalkers that sets themselves down to 1. Game is played just about presence on the battlefield and being able to pick off at low opportunity cost. And Llanowar Elves does all that.
Big attack there from Harlan with the Nullhide Ferox and the 2 Llanowar Elves and a Paradise Druid to follow things up with. Lava Coil and Mountain in hand for Harlan, and he'll never even get to cast them. As Harlan Fear is going to win game number 1 here over Abe Corrigan. Gruul Aggro up a game relatively quickly there over Esper Superheroes. And again, the thing about Gruul Aggro, nothing fancy.
No.
Nothing fancy. Mana acceleration, green, red mana, big dum-dums. Good enough to get the job done, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was exactly how you draw it up on the play with mana acceleration. Corrigan on the back foot the whole time, never gets to untap with a Planeswalker. Has to use his Planeswalkers just to keep his head above water, and Fear's threat's just too fast, too big.
The sideboard here for both players, we're going to start with Abe Corrigan, number 1, once again on the SCG Tour leaderboard. Down a game right now, though, is the member of Team Lotus Box. You'll find 2 Kaya's Wraths in his sideboard this weekend, along with 2 Dovin's Veto, 2 Cry the Carnarium, 2 Duress, 2 The Elder Spell, 3 copies of Lyra Dawnbringer. That's a tough one for them to beat. And then 2 copies of Nightveil Predator, the black, blue flying Death Touch creature. What do we think here for Abe?
I really like the Kaya's Wraths, the Lyras. And I could be talked into 3/3 flying Death Touch here, too, I think.
I think so.
Just a trade off with anything, hold off the mana creatures. That plus a Planeswalker is not an easy position for Fear to assail.
Lyra is a card that a lot of decks appear to be pretty soft to at the moment. We'll see if Harlan's got some answers here in 4 Thrashing Brontodon, 2 Carnage Tyrant, 2 Collision Colossus, so there are some answers to the flyer, 2 Shivan Fire, 2 Galta, Primal Hunger, another Lava Coil, a Mobilized District, and a Vivian Reed, a card that does not see much play anymore at all.
So I like the Vivian Reed here. The Carnage Tyrants and the Collision Colossus is a little hedge for flyers. I don't know how much removal Fear wants to leave in his deck here. He's got 3 Shocks and 3 Lava Coils, so you can get away from that stuff a little bit, I would imagine, and bring in some stuff for a longer game. But I don't think you want to be on 0 removal spells, because Corrigan's going to have some stuff, especially on the sideboard.
Well, these are the options here for both players, and game number 2 will be underway here shortly between number 1 and number 14. I think we're going to have a lot of matchups of players with numbers next to their name this weekend here at our Season 1 Invitational. But for now, we got to sell you some stuff, like the SCG Con Summer Sale. Oh, boy, do you know these cards? There's some old ones here.
Yeah. Exorcist, Power Artifact, Lightning Bolt, and Jihad.
These are some old. What? I don't even know what set most of these cards are from.
The Dark, Exorcist is the Dark. Power Artifact is Antiquities. That's an Alpha or Beta Lightning Bolt, and then Jihad is from Arabian Nights.
Look at you. Look at you.
I know these cards, man. This is my childhood.
This is why you're here.
Yeah.
I know Lightning Bolt. I actually don't think I know what the other 3 cards do. Okay. And they don't show up in coverage very much.
Well, Power Artifact shows up a little bit. That's a combo.
It's been a minute.
But that's a card that has shown up. We have probably covered a match at some point in our life involving Power Artifact. I don't think that's true of either Jihad or Exorcist.
I know we've covered a match with Transmute Artifact. I don't know about Power Artifact.
We have.
Really? All right. It was probably Greg Hatch.
People back in the day played some bad Legacy decks.
That's true.
Anyways, Star City Games got sale. Head over to the website. Check out what's on sale. We're done with the categories. Just put stuff up there.
Yeah, you want cheaper cards? Boom.
This got some old school flavor to it, which I appreciate.
Getting ready here for game number 2 between Harlan Fear and Abe Corrigan, number 14, number 1, respectively, on the SCG Tour leaderboard. This is, I think, this is either 3rd or 4th SCG Con Summer, maybe 5th SCG Con Summer that I've done. Biggest one we've done yet.
Well, we got the whole Berglund Center.
Yeah.
470-ish in the main. We'll get an exact total for you soon. And Pete Hoffling came by, and we said, look at this room, because we got all the people in the event, and then off to the side events are already firing, a bunch of sealed deck going on and all that. And he's like, we got the other side of the building too. This is only one of the buildings that we have where stuff is going on. So I got to go over across the hall during my break, check out all the action.
A lot of people here hanging out at the Berglund Center in Roanoke, Virginia. Sadly, some people couldn't make it, but hopefully you guys are hanging out with us here all weekend long as we're going to crown an invitational champion. We're going to punch some tickets to the Players' Championship. Some players are going to be joining Joe Lissette later this year at the Players' Championship at the Star City Game Center in lovely Roanoke, Virginia. As we are underway here in game number 2, Abe Corrigan's going to start things off with a Watery Grave. Harlan, no mana acceleration, just a stomping ground that will enter the battlefield tap. There's our hero of Precinct 1, and this is what you talked about these Esper decks. You got to be proactive.
Yep. I mean, Corrigan took a long time to get on the battlefield productively, and Fear did not let up after his mana accelerated start.
Invitational players, we do have
Growth Chamber Guardian is the true 2-drop there for Harlan, pardon me. So both players did have something to do with the early stages of this game, and now it makes you wonder what Abe is going to do on his 3rd turn as he starts to think things over a little bit in his comfy new chair.
Yes.
There is a swamp. This is a Narset, Parter of Veils, one of the most powerful cards from War of the Spark. Take a look at the top couple of cards. The last one was a hit. That is a Thought Eraser. Those cards will go randomly to the bottom of Abe's deck, and he'll pass it back. If you are curious what these players are playing, Cardboard Live is your friend, and they help us with our tournaments, as here comes Growth Chamber Guardian.
And this was the hesitation you saw from Corrigan. A little bit of a rock and a hard place here. He's got to choose between the Narset or the Captain. Gonna let the Narset go.
Narset will go as the Growth Chamber Guardian will adapt. So it is a 4/4 now, and another Growth Chamber Guardian in hand that I suppose could be taken via Thought Eraser as we head back over to Abe Corrigan. Again, the deck lists are available on Cardboard Live, and they will be available all weekend long, every single round of action we do bring to you. So if you do want to see what some of these players are playing this weekend, up to and including this very innovative modern deck that Peter Ingram, Edgar Magayesh, and some others have brought to the table. I'm sure we'll have a feature match of that later on. A little Devoted Druid combo action that apparently some players have been doing very well on Magic Online with. I'm excited to watch it. For now, we turn our attention to this game and match, and of course this very, very fun standard format. As Corrigan, again with many options. The games of this standard format, they're not easy to play, partner.
No. I mean, and Corrigan's got some awkwardness here that you could play. It looks like his turn, if he played the Thought Eraser, that would just be the whole turn. And Corrigan not interested in doing just that. So another Narset here, and then maybe chump block. Maybe just let it go. But again, the floor on these Planeswalkers is so high because they all come with a card attached to them.
Speaking of Planeswalkers, Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, is the card that Abe has found. He'll get in here for 2 with his Hero of Precinct 1, as he's got no interest in blocking, and we will head back over to Harlan, who will draw a card. It's a copy of Carnage Tyrant. So Harlan's gone a little bit larger. He'll start by taking care of another copy of Narset. This will be a Growth Chamber Guardian, but unfortunately for Harlan, no land to play.
And if Corrigan has land number 5 for Teferi, Hero Dominaria, he is in a commanding position here.
Looks like he's going to go to Thought Eraser first, and he will get a token here from Hero of Precinct 1.
Yeah, Corrigan here wants to make the battlefield just a little gummed up so he has protection for his series of Planeswalkers.
For Harlan, that hands 2 copies of Skargan Hellcut. I see a Rekindling Phoenix, a Carnage Tyrant, a Collision Colossus, a Nullhide Ferox, and a Vivian Reed. I wouldn't select the Ferox if I was Abe, but everything else is pretty good to choose. This is a very expensive hand here for Harlan. No mana acceleration and no mana.
Yeah, he sideboards into a pretty big deck, and you know he is pretty heavy on expensive plays to begin with. Fortunately for him, he's had the Growth Chamber Guardian to use his mana productively here while he's waiting for land number 4. But with Corrigan threatening Teferi, Hero Dominaria, next turn it's very important for Fear to add more to the battlefield.
So Corrigan's going to consult his hand before making the selection. Again, 2 copies of Skargan Hellkite, a Nullhide Ferox, which you don't want to choose with Thought Eraser. Collision Colossus, Vivian Reed, Rekindling Phoenix, and Carnage Tyrant are the cards that Harlan Fear is working with. And again, Abe Corrigan will select one of these. It looks like he's going to go with Vivian Reed. That will hit the graveyard. Vivian, you got to remember that previous standard format before War of the Spark, one of the best cards to be casting. And this one sees very little play, as here is an Oath of Kaya, trigger the hero, get another token, and here's an attack for 2.
Was a ubiquitous feature of the format, but now with green mid-range not as much of a factor, see very little of it.
As you like to say, metagames are ecosystems, and for this one,
there's
Vivian Reed not very good.
No absence of powerful cards in this format. You can only play with so many of them, so things are going to cycle in and out depending on the particulars of the metagame. But it doesn't mean the card's weak or strong. It's just, you know, there's a lot to consider.
This will be an attack here for 4. Looks like no interest in blocking. Now here is a big old Nullhide Ferox. So we're going to head back over to Abe Corrigan. He's got 5 lands, a Hero of Precinct 1, an Oath of Kaya, and 2 tokens from the hero. Looks like Lyra Dawnbringer was drawn, but he knows that Harlan has a copy of Collision Colossus in hand, so it's not ideal right now.
And I think Fear they're going with the Ferox over the Rekindling Phoenix to try to make the battlefield as good against Teferi, Hero of Dominaria as possible. The Rekindling Phoenix just gets sent back, and then Corrigan's got a ton of chump blockers to work with for the Growth Chamber Guardian. So Fear here just trying to set up a slightly better board here in the event that Corrigan plays the 5-mana Planeswalker.
First things first, Corrigan will play an Isolated Chapel. He's reaching for some mana, looks like 5 of it. And now here is Teferi. So the powerful Planeswalker will bring a token along with it, thanks to Hero of Precinct 1. It'll start on 4 loyalty, and the elevator might be going up to 5 here in just a moment. And we'll go up to 5 as Corrigan will draw a card. He'll untap a couple of lands here from the Teferi and pass the turn back over to Harlan. Harlan with a Nullhide Ferox, a Growth Chamber Guardian that's already been adapted, and he's drawn another land. So now he's up to 5 mana, which means that Skargan Hellkite is an option here for our Gruul aggro player.
And keep in mind that Fear is getting close to Carnage Tyrant as well. Not an easy card for Corrigan to handle. And that Lyra in his hand is shut off because of the Collision Colossus. So a lot of eggs in this Teferi right now. That basket, if Fear is able to pressure Teferi sufficiently, Corrigan's leftovers are not very good.
A couple different ways you can build Gruul aggro. You can certainly play more Planeswalkers if you'd like. There's, as you mentioned, no shortage of good options and powerful cards, but players are electing to go towards this beast in Nullhide Ferox, 4 mana, 6/6 hexproof. You can't cast non-creature spells, so Harlan can't even cast the Collision Colossus right now anyway if he wanted to.
Well, he can pay the 4. He can, if Corrigan commits his turn, it's trivial to pay 2 and then pay 2.
Now here's Skargan Hellkite. He will go to the flyer and get into the red zone with it.
Find out here in a moment if Fear is going after Corrigan or Teferi.
Looks like they're all at Abe. Doesn't care about Teferi.
Or it just might be too hard to take down in combat this turn. Corrigan's got too many chump blockers. And with the Oath of Kaya on the battlefield, you don't want to break up the Planeswalker attacks into multiple turns. You want to avoid as many of those triggers as possible. So Fear could say, this turn, I really can't get to the Teferi, and the attack on you is plenty good. It's going to deal either a ton of damage or you're going to lose some chump blockers. And maybe next turn it'll change where an attack on Teferi gets a little bit more attractive. Another thing to keep in mind with these decks is they play a lot of copies of the same Planeswalker. So there's some times where you just want to let it go for a little while because you don't want to invest a lot of resources getting Hero of Dominaria off the battlefield, only to just unlock a second copy.
Well, Abe's going to start here by attacking with the Hero of Precinct 1. The follow-up play will be the Lyra. Untap a couple of lands and pass the turn back. Not sure if he's expecting this creature to live or not, given the information that he has, but perhaps maybe he has some sort of counterspell in hand. Harlan's going to pay the 2 for Nullhide Ferox, and there is Collision Colossus. The collision half, of course, will take care of the flyer. Maybe that's all Abe had to do.
I mean, Abe's leftovers look pretty bad. I think it's just 2 lands and another Hero of Dominaria.
Yeah, not doing great is Abe Corrigan right now. Back to Abe Corrigan we go. Okay, well, another copy of Lyra is interesting.
I believe he also drew an Oath of Kaya this turn.
In there.
Kaya's Wrath.
Kaya's Wrath?
Yeah.
Okay. Here is the attack. Players will make sure their life totals are square. Skargan Hellkite, Rekindling Phoenix, and Carnage Tyrant are the cards that Abe does know about. He wants to make sure he's got his information correct. There's an isolated chapel. And it does look like Kaya's Wrath is in hand, and it's a good time to cast it. So that's going to clear everything away. Corrigan's going to make a token from Hero of Precinct 1, and then 2 creatures will die. So he's going to get a little bit of life in this exchange. Untap a couple of lands from Teferi and pass the turn back over to Harlan. Harlan will draw a card, picks up another land. Is it time to go towards Carnage Tyrant, or do we go towards a big dragon? Gruul Spellbreaker isn't bad either. And that can finish off Teferi. Oath of Kaya will trigger, so some life will be exchanged, but Teferi is off the battlefield now as we head back over to Abe Corrigan.
Yep. Fear there looks like he's settling in for the possibility of a much longer game here because he elected to get rid of the Teferi rather than use his mana as efficiently as possible.
Well, it's not a bad turn there for Abe. It's 2 flying creatures. One of them is a Nightveiled Predator. That one's got Flying and Death Touch. The other is a Lyra Dawnbringer. Both quite potent on this battlefield.
And you're seeing in game number 2, with Corrigan being able to get something on the battlefield early on and make Fear expend resources in combat like that. The Planeswalkers, even if they don't run away with the game, even if we're not talking about Teferi Emblem, they generate so much value that Corrigan easily able to win with his sweepers and then the flying leftovers.
Kaya's Wrath, a card that's not seeing a ton of play right now, but it was very useful there, cleaning up the battlefield and allowing Abe Corrigan to clean up that game. We're all tied up here. 1-1 as we get ready for our third and final one between Esper Superheroes and Gruul Aggro. Esper Superheroes is what Ben Friedman, your Grand Prix Kansas City champion as of last weekend, has coined this deck because it's a combination of those kind of Esper Hero, Esper mid-range decks and those Esper Super Friends decks. As he does have 12 Planeswalkers here, does Abe in Narset and 8 Teferis. And then he's found a room for a little bit of Hero of Precinct 1 action, the card that allows this deck to continue to be very proactive.
Yeah, and it's such an important point. Even if it comes with some liabilities in the mono-red matchup, it just dies for no value sometimes. These games are so much about the ability to attack and defend Planeswalkers, and the hero does both of those things very well.
Well, before game number 3 begins, the month of June is already here, which means we've got a new one here for the StarCityGames.com creature collection, and it is Makeshift Mischiefs. Looks like some creatures are up to no good there. These, this collection here, pardon me, is available in playmat sleeves, and best of all, player bundles.
Yeah, you get it all.
That's
bundled
right.
together at go.starcitygames.com/creature collection.
That's where we've been doing creature collection for like 5 or 6 years now.
At least, yeah.
They're all there. Everything is there. It's a good thing that camera works. Otherwise, that'd be bad.
I'm feeling these seats, man.
You're a little too comfy.
Oh. If the people at home could see me right now, put my foot up on the table.
little too cozy.
Hands crossed behind the head, the whole thing. Unwinding.
Oh, I see Andrew Backstrom is a fan of us in Suits Plus gaming chairs.
Yeah. You're on the he's on the clock right now.
Yeah, your comment is smart. Get back to work.
Get back to work.
Yeah. I like that. That's smart. A lot of players here in our Season 1 Invitational. You can't see them like we can. But we've got about 470-ish, give or take, as we get that final number worked on. And we got a lot more than that here at the Berkland Center in Roanoke, Virginia. This place is packed, and it's Friday.
I know. We're not even
Saturday where it's really going to be packed. So awesome turnout here, and an awesome start here for Harlan Fear with Atlanta War Elves on turn number 1. Next up is Paradise Road. This is very reminiscent of the Game 1 start.
Except now Fear has to concern himself with Kaya's Wrath.
We go back over to Harlan. He would like to play a turn 3 Dragon. Skargan Hellkite will resolve, and it's going to come into the red zone. So as far as starts go, if you're Harlan, you've got to be happy. Skargan.
Yeah, so you get to choose between a 4/4 flying haste or a 5/5 flyer that can pay some mana and shoot some things. 2 good deals.
Two
good deals.
That's right. Card that hasn't seen a ton of play, but it's starting to. I mean, this is definitely a powerful card. It's a mythic.
Yeah. No, it's just, how much interest is there in paying 5 mana. So a lot of the more expensive cards, they just get kind of collapsed into the Planeswalkers because they're so much better on rate than the other stuff. Harlan's making it interesting here by playing with enough mana acceleration, and the interest in threatening his opponent's life total makes this comparable on rate to the Planeswalkers, but it's hard for these cards to show up given how good the Planeswalkers are.
It looks like we have a Domri sighting and now some more beatdowns. So not a bad draw here for Harlan Fear, as Abe Corrigan's got some real catching up to do. You had mentioned Kaya's Wrath. Abe might need that right now.
And the Domri here gives him some infrastructure to rebuild with in the event that Corrigan has it. And there's some indication that he may not have it because he used Oath of Kaya last turn on a creature that would just get swept up this turn.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to see 4/4 flying haste for 5 still just be Like, that's not a bad deal.
That's a thing you can do?
That's not a bad deal.
Yeah. And a nice little Planeswalker thrown into it. Domri, Anarch of Bolas. Couple copies of Hero of Precinct 1. Well, setting up for a big turn, ideally, is Abe Corrigan as we head back over to Harlan Fear. Mobilized District looks like the land for the turn. That's pretty important too, folks. As here's another dragon.
It's just another good leftover here if Corrigan has Kaya's Wrath.
Yeah. Little fighting will take place there. Llanowar Elves trades with the Hero of Precinct 1 because of Domri's text, giving the creatures a little bit more power when attacking.
And that one mobilized district might lock Corrigan here out of being able to stabilize this with Kaya's Wrath.
Well, here's the hope, right? You're hoping that Lyra Dawnbringer is going to be good enough to stabilize this battlefield. It might be. There's your block. There's your activation. Go up to 6, attack with everybody. And that is going to do it. So Abe Corrigan is going to pick up the loss. And more importantly, Harlan Fear is going to pick up the win as Gruul Aggro is going to take care of Esper Superheroes. Harlan Fear on the board. Abe Corrigan, if you're